Thank you for meeting with us today, Dr. Becerra, to talk about your new workshop, the Understanding Medical Cannabis in Louisiana for Counselors. So could you just kind of give us like a little bit of an overview of what you're going to be discussing in the workshop?
Sure. So this is going to be kind of a sample of of a certificate that we're proposing in our counseling department on medical cannabis science and therapeutic use. It's broken up into 4 sections. The first section is History of Cannabis and War on Drugs, where we talk about the timeline, the historical timeline of where was cannabis used throughout the year, and to talk about the timeline of the war on drugs, starting with President Nixon in the 70s, and talking about that and bringing it to present day, including Louisiana law and stuff like that. We are also going to be talking about basic cannabis science and the therapeutic uses. There's been some research that's been done outside of the country, like in Israel, Colombia, and UK, that we'll be looking at. And we'll also be looking at other research that's being done here in the agricultural sector. We are going to be applying ethical principles on case studies, looking at cannabis use and looking at issues with like workplace concerns and discrimination and legal rights. We're going to be looking at that and giving attendees an opportunity to apply their understanding of ethical principles.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Sounds very interactive.
It is. It's this is an emerging topic, and I feel like everybody has an opinion and an idea. Everybody, some are excited, some aren't excited. So I just feel like there's going to be a lot of interaction going on during this workshop.
So what would you say are kind of the 3 main reasons why people should sign up for this workshop?
Okay, to get a better understanding of cannabis. When I did some research into the counseling field to see, what has been written about the topic, who has done research, what kind of guidelines or I guess not best practices, but I guess guidelines and ethical guidelines as far as how to work with our clients who are choosing to medicate with medical cannabis, and couldn't find anything. Couldn't find, I found like 2 articles and didn't really talk much about, what counselors should do. Didn't encounter any research. And so I feel like there's an opportunity here to start talking about it. And then when I was doing research, I also found that all levels of healthcare providers are not trained in medical cannabis. From doctors, surgeons, nurses, patient techs. I mean, no one is training, or no one is being taught about medical cannabis. So I feel like it kind of puts us all on an even playing field. And it's really going to be those who choose to take on cannabis as a professional interest.
So for those who do attend this workshop, what would you say are the kind of the key takeaways that you want them to have, and kind of what they would get out of this workshop when they leave?
Okay. So upon taking this job and starting here in Shreveport, a lot of my students and colleagues have been really good about filling me in on Shreveport and just being able to sit in on some different presentations. And one that I sat in had to do with incarceration, and how Shreveport is one of the biggest cities for incarceration. And so, it'd be interesting to unpack that and see how much of that is drug related and how much of that is related to the war on drugs. And so just being able to maybe unpack that a little bit during the workshop, seeing what's happening in our local community, and how we can be better advocates for smarter drug policy in the city. So that'll be the first part. Second part would be the cannabis science. I'll be interviewing local industry leaders, cannabis doctors, to kind of get that basic cannabis science that is missing in our literature, and then being able to talk about the therapeutic uses and how it's been used, and maybe getting feedback from the attendees as well, because I have to imagine that they're working with clients who are using medical cannabis, and then being able to network, get to know who else has this interest in helping others with educating on medical cannabis.
So I know that we're the continuing education office is having a student discount. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the early bird rate is $99, and then after January 27th, I think, it's going to be $129, and the student rate is $49. It's half. And for students who are in our counseling program, they're able to go for free.
For those who are interested, how would they go about signing up for your workshop?
Okay, they can go to the LSU Continuing Ed website. There's a link there. You can also find me on LinkedIn, where I've published an article, and I have a link there as well.